When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. That's the quote of the day for me. So this quote has been coming on and off for a while now, for the past few weeks. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And it is so true. When life handles you like tough tasks, just see the good out of it. There's always a lesson that had to be learned. So a few days ago, I met up with an ex-colleague of mine, and well, it was a bad, not a bad, but it was a hard experience where we used to work before. And she was saying, if I had to go back in the past, I would like never go work there again. I would change that. That was such a waste of time, such a waste of my life, and all these things. And I looked at her and I told her, okay, you feel like that, that's fine, but it was a learning experience, because you wouldn't be the person you are today, throughout those trials and tribulations. This is who it made you who you are today. And I used to be that person. So this was, let me just go back a little. This was a very hard experience. I spent 10 years in this job. And let's say maybe 6 years out of that 10 years was hard. It was a lot of bullying, a lot of tears, a lot of anxiety. My fears were just out of this world, and I felt like I was cursed at some point. But I did feel that it was like a very hard experience that I had to go through. And there were times where I didn't know how I was going to go through it, but I knew that things will be better over time. So I stuck with the job, for 10 years, and I pulled through. And at first, when I was released from this job and I got transferred to my hometown, to another place. I looked back and I was like, what a waste of 10 years. I spent my 20s in this job, and it was horrific. I nearly lost my mind. It was that bad. My nights would be sometimes 1 to 3 hours of sleep. The anxiety was so bad. It was so bad. But I sucked it up and I stood there, because at that time I didn't believe that I would have other good opportunities. I live on a small land where there's not that many job opportunities. So for me to have this job opportunity, I was like, wow, And so I spent the first year, when I got transferred to another job, I was like, I wasted so much time and I so regret it. And I kind of lived in that, regret. But I came to realize that it was my learning experience. This is what I had to go through to be the Jessica I am today, Although it was not easy, but it was my struggle. Everybody has different struggles, and this was one of the hardest that I had to go through. And today I look at it as a learning experience. I've learned so much. I've become so much stronger. I've become the woman I am today, And I thank those people who made it so difficult, so difficult, all those sleepless nights. I thank them, because they taught me so much. They taught me about myself. They taught me about life. They taught me about what to accept and what not to accept, to stand up for my rights. And so this is, again, the quote, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So at first I used to see this as a negative thing, but now today I'm thankful. I'm thankful to God that I went through this, because I've learned so much and I've expanded. I've grown, you know. My light is brighter than ever. And it was all because of this experience. So sometimes in life, you know, we tend to get caught up with our emotions, but in reality, we choose this life. We choose to come to earth. We choose these lessons. And we forget that. Of course, we forget that when we come here. But we need to go back. We need to go back and really understand why you went through that, why you chose this life. And I do believe sometimes you have to burn old karma in this current life. So maybe that was my karma being burnt, you know? Maybe I had to go through this for any sorts. But I think this is a good lesson for people, you know, when you go through awful things, whatever it is. It could be this big, it could be that big. Whatever it is, if it's hurtful for you, if it's anxious for you, if it's hard for you, then that is your learning process. That's what you have to go through to learn, to understand, you know. And I think we're just so caught up that we forget that everything is a learning experience. And when we leave Earth, the first thing you will say, oh my God, it was so hard when I was in Earth. It was so hard to go through that, but now it's not. When you look back, it's not, you know. It makes you who you are. It makes your light brighter. You grow. And that's the important thing, that when you go through these trials and tribulations in life, that you grow of them. You grow to become a better human being, not become this person that is angry and, you know, is upset with everyone. They're continuing this blame game. They continue on thinking about it. You know, what if? There's no what ifs. It was all the way it was supposed to be. So if we keep this in mind, we can live such a better and simpler life. And I know it's not easy, because some people, you know, they go through really hard things. But honestly, for me, this was one of the toughest situations I had to go through. And so it was definitely something that made me greater than I ever knew that I could be. And yeah, so I hope this message was helpful to anyone maybe going through something or who has been through something. You know, always remember the light within you, that no one can dull that light, no matter what, because light overwins darkness, always, no matter what. So keep on shining your light. And the light in me always greets the light in you. Thank you for watching. Bye.